Welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here at the News Forum with Matt Malone. He is an assistant professor at Thompson Rivers University, Faculty of Law, British Columbia. Sir, we've talked a little bit about some of the online harms, if you will, due to government lackadaisical approach to data breaches, etc. What does the government have to do to harden its infrastructure to prevent these breaches in the future, do you think?
Well, there are definitely some things it can do, including targeting specific industries and focusing its energy in what's deemed critical infrastructure. We've seen that happen in a lot of our peer countries and a lot of our allies. So the Biden administration recently introduced a really robust cybersecurity bill that concerns critical infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And in Canada, this is also something we're seeing. Bill C-26 was introduced last June, and it essentially reforms the Telecommunications Act and introduces the what's called the Critical Cyber Systems Protection Act. And the bill has pretty wide support. It establishes a series of reporting obligations. So if you're a victim of a ransomware attack or a cyber incident, what's defined as a cyber incident in the law, there are reporting obligations on entities that are deemed critical infrastructure entities. And I think the bill is a smart move, and it's a necessary move. It's a bit late. It's surprising that we're only coming into this space now, and we still don't have the bill passed. The bill also has a few things that it really needs to improve. So, for example, in the United States, they've been very proactive about creating obligations to report ransomware payments. So when a ransomware attack occurs, if a payout does happen, to make sure that that is reported to relevant authorities. That's an oversight in the current Canadian law, which should be changed. We know that there's severe underreporting of data breach incidents generally and ransomware attacks especially. But we also know that ransomware is a major preoccupation of private sector actors and federal institutions themselves. We know that the average payout in a ransomware attack in Canada is $250,000.
Really?
Yeah, that comes from the annual report of the Communications Security Establishment, which is our cybersecurity agency and our technical authority for our cryptologic agency and our technical authority for cybersecurity. And they have said the director of the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity, which does the cybersecurity piece of their mandate, has told Standing Committee of Parliament that whenever they talk to business, ransomware is what businesses want to talk about. It's always on the agenda. And they said that last year or in 2021, they had 300 reports of ransomware, which they believe is severely underreported. So we know that this is underreported.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. And everybody has a story now, that's for sure. You're absolutely right about that. Let's talk about access to information a little bit. You recently wrote that the access to information regime of the Government of Canada is not ready for AI. What did you mean by that?
Well, a lot of the delivery of government goods and services that use artificial intelligence is not developed in-house. And what we're doing is we're going to the private sector. We're outsourcing a lot of this work. And when we outsource this work to third parties, the accountability and the transparency piece are often getting lost. The underlying technologies for artificial intelligence, the data itself, algorithms, all of this type of stuff, is generally treated as trade secrets or confidential information. And in the Access to Information Act, that type of subject matter receives pretty much ironclad protection, and it's rarely disclosed to the public. So, as part of my research, this is an area of research I've written quite a bit in. I went to all of the major federal institutions like Public Services Procurement Canada, the industry portfolio, now called Innovation, Science, and Economic Development, the Treasury Board Secretariat, and so forth. And I've asked all of them, have you ever used the public interest override in the Access to Information Act to disclose third-party information? In other words, whenever a third party says this is trade secrets or confidential information, have you ever actually overridden that decision and disclosed the information anyway? And every single institution told me that they never had. used it ever. And I thought that was really striking. And an example where you can see where there's a clear need for this type of disclosure is, I think, something like the Rogers outage, right? Where there were clear disruptions to 911, and Rogers withheld all kinds of information down to, the number of 911 calls that were disrupted.
Right.
So this is not an AI example, but it's a good example because the public interest override is really to disclose information that's in the public interest when it's about health.